Hello BookTube! It's that time to do a January wrap-up video, and as I was coming, closer to the end of January, I realized that I have quite a lot of books to talk about. So maybe from now on I will start doing weekly wrap-ups instead of monthly wrap-ups, because let's be realistic, you don't want to spend half an hour listening to me ramble about books when we could be so much more efficient. Anyway, yeah, January wrap-up. Let's get started. So this first book I had started reading in December, but I finished it in January, and this is the Gustave Doré art book that I showed in the first video. Is Gustave Doré. There's the years. Master of Imagination. I'm sorry to have made a mere 100,000 drawings by the age of 33. How many of us can boast like that? So yeah, this book is, well, this is basically just, essays and brief articles by art professionals talking about Doré and his influence and, his different periods, like illustrations, paintings, landscapes, and so on. And as such, this is a pretty decent collection. Nothing remarkable, I would say. But I think this gives a really nice idea, or very rounded image of Gustave Doré as a person and an artist. Although I wish this would have, entered more into his personal side. But anyway, as a professional look, this was rather nice. Although there was one rather annoying thing, in my opinion, which was when this started talking about Gustave Doré in America, then suddenly the essay was so much about how much his works are worth, like what is his value and so on. Like, really? As soon as we step into America, we start talking about money and value. Is that the best you can do? And also, I find it quite funny that apparently whatever biblical stuff he did sold like crazy in America. So no matter how crap that was of quality, it would still sell like crazy in America. And here's a picture of our artist. I thought I'd share some other nice pictures here. Oh yeah, I mentioned this briefly to Bookish Bryans in some of their videos. Here's Gustave Doré's illustration for Bluebeard, and this is here is from Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast video, and this essay here talked about Doré's influence on film industry, and obviously there is quite a connection between these two. Like, this figure has a very striking resemblance with the other guy there. I'm very good at this. Yeah. All right, and then I thought I'd share this one. I don't know, but somewhere this reminded me of the third Lord of the Rings movie, Return of the King. Where's that army of ghosts, if you remember. Somehow this made me think of that. Anyway, pretty effective drawing. And this is one heck of a masterpiece. The Enigma, if I remember right. I think I've seen this before on, was it some edition of Sophocles. And this one, the street performers. Oh, sorry, give you a good look. So yeah, there's a child is probably dying because his parents made him do some performance balancing act on a trapeze or something, and yeah, the parents are grief-stricken. But that's what you get for forcing your child to do something they're not supposed to. Alright, and then I'm not, we have some comic books. I'm not gonna spend too much on these because most of them are part of a series. So I read My Hero Academia, books 9, 10 and 11. This is about young people who want to become heroes. But of course, things won't go as planned because the bad guys don't really want that to happen. They have other plans. So yeah, if you like silly superhero comics, this might be for you. Then I read Tokyo Ghoul. Oh, I forgot to mention translator. Translated by Antti Valkama. And Tokyo Ghoul, I read books number 6 and 7. And this is translated by Suvi Mäkelä. And in this series we follow Kaneki, a young book-loving student who through a series of events becomes half ghoul and half human, and he needs to learn to survive between those two societies, communities. Then we have Aron Morsiamet. I read books 4 and 5. This is translated by Antti Valkama. And of course, I forgot to mention these authors from the previous books. I'm sorry. My Hero Academia by Kohei Horikoshi. And Tokyo Ghoul by Sui Ishida. So yeah, this is also known as The Bride Story. And in this we follow a young couple in Central Asia. Let's see. Here, Amira, who married 8-year younger Kaluk. Sorry, I feel my voice is a bit rough today. So in this series we get a look at Central Asian traditions and especially marriage traditions. And in this volume we follow these two twins as they are getting married, and they are quite an energetic couple or pair, I would say. Always up for some mischief, and they have struggles being still. And the illustrations by Kaoru are just fantastic. Like here's how they're making dumplings, having lunch together. Searching for a disappeared donkey. Or, just wandering on the plains, looking for food. Do not shoot the hawks. They are messengers from the sky. I mean, just look at that. I love her illustrations. And Kaoru Mori is quite well known for her other series as well. This is Emma. I thought I'd recommend this to you. Emma, this is set in Victorian era London. So this figure here, Emma, is a maid who ends up in a relationship with a with an aristocrat, or a person from a higher rank in society, and we follow their love story. So yeah, there's that. And then I read Ralf König's vasemmalla, kädellä, or in English, with the left hand. Translated by Juha Lares. And here's our author. And Ralf König does this rather funny comics where he delves into stereotypes, especially related to gay communities and heterosexual sex and all kind of stuff related to those things. Like he himself belongs to gay community, and he really knows how to laugh at himself and his people. So he is quite well known for his comic called The Killer Condom, which you can see right here. Killer Condom, which was also adapted into puppet theater, if I'm not mistaken. And I won't show you any pictures because they involve some nudity and cocks. Alright. Then I read this collection of poetry, When We Were Very Young, by A. Milne. You probably remember I read one poem from here. And overall, I thought this collection was just a little bit twee to my taste. Although I could appreciate Milne's, at least Milne was trying to use end rhymes, which is something that today's poets simply don't understand. Or they make some pseudo poems that are like speeches where they add some poetic elements to fool everyone. So yeah, a little bit twee. Let's open some pages at random. Right. Halfway down the stairs is a stair where I sit. There isn't any other stair quite like it. I'm not at the bottom, I'm not at the top. So this is the stair where I always stop. Halfway up the stairs isn't up and isn't down. It isn't in the nursery, it isn't in the town. And all sorts of funny thoughts run through my head. It isn't really anywhere. It's somewhere else instead. So yeah, that's about it. The best thing about this collection is by far E.H. Shepard's illustrations. Let's see if I can find. Well, they are all great, but let's see some very nice ones. Like yes, dancing cow. I mean, just look at that. Very beautiful ink and watercolor. I should hold it up there for a little longer. Alright. Emma Donoghue, The Pull of the Stars. I wanted to start my new year with some contemporary fiction, so I decided to try this one. It's set in 1980s Dublin. There's a Spanish flu pandemic going on, and in this we follow a nurse working in a what's the word? Marital ward, where women are giving birth. And this was my first Emma Donoghue book, and the impression that I got is that she is a very solid writer. Like, she knows what she's doing, and as a reader I felt really secure in her, not hands, but you know what I mean. And that pretty much sums up my impression of this one as well. Like, this was very solid writing, but it felt really safe and unpredictable. I mean, predictable. That's what I was supposed to say. Like, there's a love story, and I was thinking, oh, I bet one of these is going to die or something. And maybe that happened. And okay, so there's this mother who just died, and she left behind a newborn baby. I wonder if one of these characters is going to raise this kid as her own. Maybe that happened. Maybe. So, yeah. All right. Predictable. Good fun. I mean, it's a good story. Then, As You Were by Elaine Feeney, another contemporary fiction. And this is set in, rather contemporary times, also in Ireland. Although the setting could be pretty much anywhere, this didn't do that much in terms of world building, whereas this one I thought handled the world building very well. And yes, you can definitely use world building outside of fantasy genre. So yeah, As You Were. And here, this is probably, if I remember right, this is Elaine Feeney's debut novel, although she has written some poetry before. And yeah, what's this book about? This is also set in a hospital, and we follow some patients as they're, going through their recovery. And this book isn't that much about plot. This is really, character study, I would say, about, different kinds of people in the hospital ward. But I thought the group of characters in that same hospital ward were just too different. Like, how is it possible that so many different characters end up in the same room? And it's almost like a mental asylum instead of a hospital ward. And the writing here is, described as experimental, and yeah, she's definitely giving it her best shot, like being, having this unique voice. I could read you a bit of the first page. Let's see. Yeah, let's start from here. An arrow points to you are here. This is okay. Breathe. You are just a dot. Swirly space. Breathe. No one will ever find you. Good. This is a good thing. Thump. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thump. After saluting Magpie, I sped at 139 kilometers per hour out along the M6. Stone walls held past and end days of August conspired with night, letting a cold dusk down. 39. Fitting. On the car's windscreen, a fog was creeping around my eldest son's initials, traced inside a fat heart. But I was fine. Do you get the idea? And I thought, well then, that the writing was rather self-impressed rather than confident. And well, I don't want to savage this book too much, because there were some excellent scenes that really, pulled at my heartstrings. For example, there's one person manages to surprise even after his death, and there's one scene in particular that really, genuinely touched me. Like, imagine that you have, a parent who never cared about your reading hobby. And then that parent does something very special to you. That parent buys you a bookish gift. It could be, a bookmark. It could be a biography of Isaac Newton or something. And how special and emotional that little gesture is to you. Because that person never cared about your bookish hobby, never did anything related to that to you. And now they do something very special. Yeah, there was a moment like that in this book. That was great. But overall, this was a bit of a letdown. Let's put it frankly there. Then I read a book by Gene Wolfe, Peace. Although Gene Wolfe is known as a science fiction author, this is not science fiction. I want you to know that. I really don't know what this is. This is a memoir of a fictional character. Let's see if I got this name right. Alden Dennis Weir. And I really don't know how to sum this book up. This is a very puzzling read, and I think I need to reread this at some point. Because, this is a memoir. We have this character sort of telling stuff about his past, about his going to meet the doctor, and then there are some tales and stories that seem irrelevant, yet somehow I think they are sort of parallel to the real persons that are featured in this book. So this mixes, fictional stories, of course, with the reality of this story, if you get what I mean. So we don't know what is real and what is not anymore. And what's untroubling to me is that this book is titled Peace, when after reading I didn't feel that peaceful. I was quite troubled by this book. Like, there's so much going on beneath the surface, really. So It's really hard to say if this is a good book or a bad book. It's just, no. It's a really puzzling book. And then, probably the best book of the month. Sharks in the Time of Saviors by Kawaii Strong Washburn. Give you a proper look. Let's see if I can get that glitter there. Oh yeah. So yeah, this is a novel set in Hawaii and United States, and we follow one family and how one boy gets rescued. One of the family's boys gets rescued by a shark, and then they start believing that he can perform miracles, and legends and mythology starts to get mixed into the story. And what I think is great about this book is how effortlessly Washburn seems to mix Hawaiian heritage and family dynamics together. And again, this was not only well crafted, but also this felt genuine. Like it didn't feel like it was manipulating the reader. It felt rather honest. I don't know how to put that. Sorry, I don't know how to put that in proper words. I will probably make a single review video of this later. But yeah, then there was, related to family dynamics, there were some excellent episodes that really spoke to me. Like, it made me think of my brother and myself and how I have felt over the years, how I feel now, and so on. Like 1 or 2, 3 years ago, I read, this is a bit of a tangent here, but I read Miriam Tave's book, All My Puny Sorrows, which was also, about the sibling relationship, and it was supposed to be, sad and funny and all that, but I thought it was just sterile, very, I don't know, I never felt anything reading that book. Whereas this book has also that, very gripping sibling relationship going on, and I felt this. So yeah, I don't know if I can explain it any better here, but if I make that single review, you will hear more about that. I would highly recommend it, by the way. And then Zsolt von Harsanyi, Unkarilainen Rhapsodia, or the Hungarian Rhapsody, by translated by Kaarlo Nieminen. And this is a novelization of Franz Liszt's life. He was a famous pianist in the 19th century. I'm sure you've heard of him. And this gave me a really good idea of Liszt as a person, as a character, as a musician. Like very, very, very rounded idea of what he was like. So this was almost like a biography, which I think is a really great achievement for a novel. And of course, he situates the character in context, so we get all kinds of figures and stuff throughout the 19th century. There's Victor Hugo, George Sand, Chopin, of course. There's Salieri, Beethoven, Metternich. Of course, Richard Wagner towards the end. So yeah, this not only gave a good idea of Franz Liszt, but also of his time period. So it made me want to explore more about him and his contemporaries. Like I've been eyeing that, Metternich biography that came just a year or two ago in English. And, Alan Walker did a great, I think, 3-volume biography of Franz Liszt and another book of Chopin. I've been thinking of getting those because this really created a spark to want to learn more, which is about the best thing that I could ask for. Also, we meet Paganini, the famous, demonical violin player, and I thought I'd read a small, sample here. It's going to be in Finnish, so you can cover your ears or skip a bit ahead of the video if you don't want to listen. But here we describe the first meeting with Paganini, and I thought this was just remarkably written. Valtavan kiihtyneessä mielentilassa Franz meni konserttiin. Hän jätti alussa olevan orkesterinumeron kuuntelematta. Ei halunnut puhua kenenkään kanssa ja pysyi piilossa siihen saakka, kunnes mestari esiintyisi. Silloin hän asettui ovelle ja antoi katseitteensa kulkea yli salin. Niin, siellä istui kreivitär Laprunarede, erään vanhemman naisen seurassa, ja aivan hänen edessään kaartin upseeri. Mutta Franz ei saanut aikaa enempiin havaintoihin, sillä nyt astui orkesterista esiin pitkä, mustiin puettu olento, joka kuulumattomin askelin melkein liihotteli avalle olevalle paikalleen. Se oli merkillinen ilmestys. Uskomattoman pitkä ja laiha, jalassa mustat, kuluneet housut, täynnä ryppyjä ja laskoksia, niin kuin ne olisivat kuuluneet jollekulle kodittomalle, joka oli nukkunut vaatteet yllään. Näissä tiukasti ruumiin mukaisissa housuissa hänen jalkansa näyttivät niin ohulta ja kapelta kuin tavallisen ihmisen käsivarsi. Koko hänen olemuksensa teki jokseenkin sen vaikutuksen kuin vaatteisiin puettu luuranko. Päätänsä hän piti aina leuka painuneena rintaa vastaan, niin kuin se, joka lapsuudestaan saakka ei ole tehnyt mitään muuta kuin soittanut viulua. Tämän vuoksi hänen korkea otsansa lampun valossa näytti vielä korkeammalta kuin se todellisuudessa oli, ja valtava kotkan nenä pisti esiin kuin linnun nokka. Pörröinen, korpinmusta tukka peitti hänen päälakensa. Hänen kulunut musta frakkinsa oli napitettu kaulaan saakka, ja siinä oli suunnattoman pitkät, kapeat liepeet. Kengät olivat kuin maankiertäjä. Mutta merkillisimmät kaikesta olivat hänen kätensä suunnattoman pitkinen sorpineen. Kun hän pani viulun leukansa alle ja alkoi soittaa, häipyi koko hontelon musta olemus tummaan taustaan, niin että saat tuskin nähdä muuta kuin nämä ihmeelliset liidunvalkeat kädet ja yhtä kuoleman kalpean korkean otsan. So yeah, you probably didn't understand any of that, but that was a very vivid portrait of Paganini. And then, non-fiction, I won't spend too much on this one. Psyykkinen valmennus by Aleksi Tossavainen and Antti Peltonen. This is, mental coaching. I don't know why I read this book. Maybe because I wanted I thought this would be helpful to me and my future career if I end up in some leadership position or something, like how to encourage my workers and whatever. But this really didn't need to be almost 500 pages long. This is, you probably know the saying, 90% of everything is crap. Yeah, this is that. Alright. Another non-fiction. Kirurgian perusteet, or the basics of surgery. A textbook won't be of any interest to you. Then some indigenous poetry. Aurinko isäni by Niels Aslak Valkeapää, translated by Pekka Sammanlahti. And Niels Aslak Valkeapää is a Sami author, artist. The Sami people are those who live in northern Norwegian, Sweden, Finland, and possibly there are some in Russia, I'm not sure. But anyway, that northern area, indigenous people of that area. And this is basically, one big poem or epic. You can basically read it in one sitting though, and it tells what it is like to be a Sami herder, like Sami herder. Is that how you would say it? Like, yeah, how their life revolves around the nature and reindeers and how cruel it was when people from outside came there and tried to take claim of their land and deny their culture and so on. I'm not sure if I appreciate this as poetry, but I appreciate it for what it was conveying and doing. It was really effective, I would say. And it would be pointless to read any small samples from this book, because this is pretty much a whole experience. And then I read the same book in English just to compare, and this translated by Ralf Salisbury, Lars Nordström, and Harald Kaski. So yeah, The Sun, My Father by Niels Aslak Valkeapää. And another poetry book by him, Kevään yöt niin valoisat, translated by Anneli Rosell. Yeah, pretty much the same topics, just in a more smaller format and easier bite-size samples. So yeah, that was all that I read in January. Good lord, it's almost 40 minutes. I'm not sure if any one of you is still there. But hey, this was my January wrap-up. And you might figure out why I want to do these every week instead of every month. So, quickly, what I'm currently reading. Kanti by Giacomo Leopardi, poetry in Italian and English. Then Jumalainen näytelmä, The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. This is of course the Eino Leino translation, the best one. And I'm reading this because I want to follow Tom L.A. Book's fantastic Divine Comedy video series that he's doing right now. And my booktube spin book was Sinuhe Egyptiläinen by Mika Valtari. I will be talking more about those in my next week's video. So yeah, if you made it this long, thank you. Yeah. See you soon.